St. Peter. It is 7:00 p.m. Would all please join in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone should have a copy. We'll call the meeting to order. Everyone should have a copy of the agenda. Are there any changes or corrections to the agenda? If not, is there a motion for approval?
Make a motion to approve.
John. Roger, second. Okay. Next up, we have Next up, we have the minutes from our June 10th, 2019 meeting. Those minutes appear on pages 4 through 6. Are there changes or corrections to those minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor of the minutes as presented, along with the agenda, I forgot to say that, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The minutes and the agenda are approved. Next up, we'll address visitors. And is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council on any agenda item? I'm going to hold a reserve in recognition. Someone may be here for Pine Point if we do need them. Other than that, seeing no one, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council on any matter whatsoever? Seeing no one, we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda begins in detail on page 7 and concludes with the resolution on pages 27 and 28 and includes the following budgeted purchases in excess of $10,000 to RDO equipment for repair for John Deere loader for $11,208.68, to Core and Main for 4 fire hydrants and water main accessories for $15,450, for Metering and Technology Solutions for 200 water meters for a total of $27,200. The following license applications are up for approval. A temporary gambling license for St. Peter Wrestling for 400 Union for August 10th, 2019, to Gustavus Adolphus College at 800 College Avenue for November 1st, 2019. Tree worker license to Brooks Stump Removal for June 25th, 2019 to April 30th, 2020. There are following seasonal employee appointments. There are 9 of them, all of them lifeguards, all of them at $10.25 per hour. Plus the schedule of disbursements for June 6th, 2019 through June 19th, 2019. Are there any questions or comments on the consent agenda? If not, is there a motion for approval?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
I'll second as well.
Any other questions or comments now? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Coney.
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Paris.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlin.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye. Consent agenda is approved. Next, we have unfinished business, which there is none. The first item up for new business is a 2019 equipment certificate purchase. And before we start, just wanted to let everybody watching that this is not Todd Krafke tonight. This is Chief Peters. Police Chief Peters is sitting in for Todd tonight. Mr. Peters.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, council members, what you see before you is a resolution to purchase a new police car. This was budgeted in the equipment certificate purchase for this year, which is why you do have a resolution. I think most of you understand kind of our long-standing practice has been to replace squad cars when they get to somewhere between 75,000 and 100,000 miles, which is why we intend to purchase a new vehicle to replace one that is currently in our fleet that is approaching that. I can certainly answer any questions. Loggers in St. Peter provides us with a state contract price for the squad car. And also, we do get very good service from loggers, and we don't have to leave town when we need to service a vehicle. So that's why we're proposing to purchase it from Loggers Incorporated at the state bid amount.
All right. Questions for the chief?
I got one.
Ed?
You put all new stuff inside the squad car when you get them?
No, we don't. we transfer stuff. We rarely have to replace equipment inside, so it just gets transferred over. We pay for that service
Okay.
through a third party to transfer the equipment from one vehicle to another.
Okay. I thought it'd be all new.
So that's what the not to exceed number is
Correct.
for? Okay,
Correct.
just for the installation of the old equipment. Anyone else? Questions? If not, the resolution approving the 2019 equipment certificate purchase. This one is for the new squad car. Appears on page 30. Is there a motion for approval?
Move the resolution, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Now, any more questions or comments? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Paris.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlin.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, we have an electric fund transfer authorization. And Sally, are you going to talk to us about this, or should we just wing it? We,
I can help.
you got to?
I can maybe help with that too.
Yep.
If,
Well, I can do it.
while she's coming up, I do have some notes from Todd, but the resolution is necessary to conform with the state statute. I believe city policy already lays out who makes electronic fund transfers. However, there is need for a council resolution to designate the finance director and her staff to make electronic transfers. Hopefully I didn't steal all your thunder, Sally, but I understand that's basically how you need to comply with the statute.
Yeah, it's basically complying with the statute. It came up as part of the audit this year as we were going through. We had identified our policy and procedure of what to do, but they said it should be included with the, each year in January when you elect when you sit and do the banks and the newspaper, this needs to be part of it on an annual basis. So we're just catching up, so we're covered for 19. For 20, we'll come with, it'll be in that resolution.
All right. Questions? Roger?
So just to clarify, it's not, there's no change, it's just simply
It's
putting a
just-
resolution in place that says this is who we're using.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep, it's just basically identifying the people.
okay.
Anyone else? Not, the resolution authorizing certain city employees to approve electronic fund transactions on behalf of the city appears on page 32. Is there a motion for approval?
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
More questions? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Paris.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlin.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Quinn.
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, we have Sally helping us out again for a website redesign purchase.
Yes. Mr. Mayor and Council, starting on page 33 of the packet is a memo outlining we're going to redesign the website. It's been approximately 12 years since the last website was updated. We have, it is the major way now, in this day and age, way people come and see the city for the first time. So we're trying to update the website. Customers' expectations have changed a lot, so we're looking to update it. The current site, the Drupal 6 is no longer being supported by Lime Valley, who is our current supplier. So we are moving, so that means that there are no patches, no security patches being updated, no real enhancements, and it's not ADA functionality is not there. We need a new look. We are going to move to, we've taken out and we've had proposals by 7 people, or 7 companies. We narrowed it down to 3, and we have decided on Civic Engage, which is a website division of Civic Plus. And it was selected because of the design is responsive. It's viewable on your mobile, a lot better than the one that we currently have, so your phones or your iPads you can use at home. Enhanced user security, which is getting more and more important. It's going to integrate with the city's social media sites. It includes PDF searchable, so if people want to go look at council packets going forward, once this is implemented, the new packets will be searchable. So if you want to type in something that you're looking for, food waste composting, that will pop up versus having to go through each individual packet and look for it. We're looking at, it will have the ability to create forms online, so people can apply we're gonna have job applications, building permits, and certain things that people look for, instead of always sending paper, so people have options of that. We'll have it so people can subscribe to hot sheets, receive alerts. They can receive alerts for job postings. If they want to put it up there and say, I'm looking for something in wastewater, let me know when something comes up, it'll pop up and give them alerts. The cost of this is gonna be $23,249.83 for the first year, and then we'll have annual costs of $4,399.73 going forward. The annual cost is for the hosting of the website, security enhancement and patches for ongoing 24/7 support. So if it goes down on a Sunday night at 8 o'clock at night, we can call a 1-800 number and we'll have someone there supporting us. We can get the website back up. And after 4 years, it'll do a full site redesign. So we can make it, we can improve it as we learn going forward. Cost for this will be funded through general fund, utilities, library, and public access. Timing to implement will be about 6 months once we sign the contract, and then we'll be working out bugs and stuff, for full functionality. But within 6 months, we'll have a new website up. We're recommending that you approve Civic Engage, and the resolution's on page 35.
Questions for Sally? Steve?
Sally, you made the statement it's ADA compliant. What does that mean?
That means that you can change the types on it, so it's bigger. I think it's gonna be audio, so people can have it read to them if they want to. We were not able to check to see if it changes for colorblind or not. We didn't check back into there, so I don't have an answer on that.
Okay, thank you.
Roger?
One of the big mistakes that people do is they put a picture of a document up. Audio can't read a picture, so all of those words in that would be gone. So we have to make sure that when we do this, we don't make that mistake. Just have, documents or as pictures.
This picture, it'll be PDF.
Yeah, well, as long as the audio can be read. If they can read PDF, works with their program, that's fine. But a lot of times people will take a picture of, let's say, this
this.
resolution and post it. Well, the text won't be able to be read.
Okay.
Anyone else? We talked about this last Monday night at our workshop quite extensively, so. There are no other questions. The resolution accepting proposal from Civic Engage for the development and hosting of the city website appears on page 35. Is there a motion for approval?
Move to resolution.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Paris,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Carlin,
Aye.
Mayor Ziegler.
Aye.
Councilmember Corman,
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer,
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, thank you, Sally. Next up, we have a Pine Point preliminary and final plat, and Russ is here.
Yeah, Mayor Zeman, members of the city council. Dr. Richard Marlowe and Lori Dietrich are neighbors of the Pine Point subdivision, and they have jointly made application and provided the appropriate fee for your consideration of Pine Point number 4 subdivision. Dr. Marlowe owns Tract A of Registered Land Survey 68. Ms. Marlowe owns Tract A of Registered Land Survey 65. Those two properties alone would be subject to subdivision number 4. And the subdivision, as you're considering tonight, would split a portion of Dr. Marlowe's lot and then assemble that with Ms. Dietrich's lot. You can see on the graphic and in your packet, the yellow shaded is currently part of Dr. Marlowe's property to the south, and then that would be severed from Dr. Marlowe and then assembled with Ms. Dietrich's property to the north. Both of the resulting lots would meet all of the development regulations of the R3 zoning district as to width, lot size, etc. Following posted, published, and mailed notice, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing concerning the subdivision. There was no public testimony offered and no members of the public other than the applicants in attendance. Subsequent to that, the Planning and Zoning Commission has recommended that you accept Pine Point subdivision number 4 preliminary plat as well as the final plat. And for your consideration, there's a resolution on page 40 for the preliminary plat and on page 41 for the final plat. Mr. Mayor, I would answer any questions that you or your members of the council have.
Questions? Roger?
With this change, are all setbacks of any kind still okay?
Dr. Marlowe's property, yeah, all of them would still meet all the setbacks.
Okay.
The other property has not been built on yet.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see in the preliminary plat, it shows an outline of the current Marlowe property and how it's developed, and yeah, it meets all of the requirements.
So we're still all good? Okay.
Any other questions? As Russ said, the resolution accepting the preliminary plat appears on page 40. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved?
Second.
Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlin.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Cornish.
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Paris.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next, on page 41, we have the resolution approving the final plat of Pine Point subdivision number 4. Is there a motion for approval?
Move the resolution, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Carlin.
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Cornish.
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Paris.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Thank you, Russ. Thanks, John. Next up, we have a fire hall project construction manager appointment. And you taking this one, Chief?
I'm going to give it a shot.
All right.
Mayor, members of the council, the resolution is on page 47 for this construction manager proposal for the new fire hall. Now, my understanding is the city received 5 proposals for construction manager at risk for this project. As you see in the memo, the basic definition is someone to organize and manage the construction team and various contractors to build and test the building systems for a new fire hall. They represent the owner of the city of St. Peter on taking bids of subcontractors and coordinating their activities and administering all the construction contracts for a fee or guaranteed maximum price. The committee reviewed these 5 proposals, narrowed it down to 3, and I know members of the council are on this committee, so they can use all certainly chime in and help me through this.
The committee consisted of 2 members from the council, 2 members from the fire department, and Administrator Kraft.
Thank you. And that committee narrowed it down to 3 contractors. And then ultimately, Mr. Pratt, he chose R.W. Karlstrom. There are several reasons for that. Their past work with the city, the value and cost that they provided. But as is noted in the memo, it was not necessarily, there were questions about other contractors too. It wasn't, the committee wasn't unanimous.
Let me just...
Is that fair to say?
Well, yeah, let me move forward a little bit from there. The committee made the recommendation to narrow it down to 3. After the 3, it was narrowed down to 3, then those 3 made presentation, a separate presentation on the 13th. It was a Thursday, if I remember right, on the 13th, to members of the council that were here. And that's when the questions and conclusion was come up by Mr. Brafke at that time.
Okay, and as you see in the memo, clarification was sought from R.W. Karlstrom on the exact cost of services they provide. Those are listed with the other 2 proposals in the memo, which were Kraus Anderson and Terra. And as any contractor proposes, there are certainly differences in their proposals, and so my understanding is the committee sought clarification, and based on that information that was submitted and the presentations to the council and the committee, it was decided that R.W. Karlstrom would be the contractor, the project manager, and they were also the lowest bidder. And so that bid, as you see in the resolution, is $478,855. And that's basically, also their their proposal is attached and lays out specifically what they will provide as the project manager.
Before we go any further, for the viewing audience, because we're approving this, or if maybe approving this, this does not mean we are starting tomorrow or even probably in the near future, we're building a new fire hall. This is just something we need to do in order to establish costs, in order to be able to come up with some kind of a proposal to build a fire hall, because this is all part of it.
But the $400,000 of their cost is the total cost if we were to go ahead and actually build the fire hall.
Right.
Exactly.
They will have some preliminary costs for this preliminary work, but they're much, much less than that.
Estimate, yep. So that's the schedule on this. Like I say, it's just getting things organized in order to determine whether to build or not, and how we're going to pay for it. Any questions of the chief or myself or John? I know was at the, I don't know who else was there. I couldn't make it that night. Steve was there. Steve, you have a question?
Can you tell me, being new to the city, relatively speaking, what other projects has R.W. Carlson done for the city of St. Peter?
Pavilion.
Okay,
They're the ones taking
All
care of
right.
that.
We're sitting in one.
Yeah, sitting in another
Okay.
one. So they, I know when we went through the initial bids, I wish they had, I guess I looked at it, I wish they had more experience maybe building a fire hall, because some of the other ones did, but then I thought, well, they didn't have any experience building a pavilion, and that looks like it's going fine. You know, some more extensive building, but a building basically, to me, if you can build a building and follow all the rules and regulations, I think they're very qualified, and they're good to work with. Not to
I
say
would
the others
as
aren't.
a long-term resident and as the honorable mayor of St. Peter, you feel positive about R.W. Carlson?
Definitely.
Okay,
Definitely.
All right.
Yep.
okay. Thank you.
In going, Jerry and I sat on the Pavilion Building Committee, and the president, Mr. Umhofer, attended many of those meetings, which he really didn't have to. He had other people working on the project, but he felt it was, necessary for him to be there. So
Right.
it was
Okay.
good to see that.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Roger?
I was at the interviews for the 3 presentations. My number one choice was Kraus. We got some extra clarification, as we saw in the packet. At $200,000 more, I can't say I'm convinced that they would be the number one choice. Their presentation was very strong, very qualified.
Yep.
But, at that price tag, I don't think it offsets the extra cost.
Yeah, when you look at 200,000, yeah, it's a lot of money, percentage-wise of the
50%.
project. Well, percentage-wise of the project, though,
Right.
it's not a lot, but I have every confidence in myself personally and the abilities of Carlstrom.
Yeah, and Karlstrom, their presentation was still good. It's
Right.
just, Kraus is very polished, I guess.
Yep. And you can, they're big, Kraus Anderson's big operators.
Right.
Look at the Gustavus edition, that's them, doing that up to Nobel Hall. So,
Yeah. I think if the prices were closer and even if it was just slightly higher, I still probably would go with Kraus. But at this rate of a difference,
yeah, I think we'll be well served.
yeah,
Once
I still have
my
plenty of
personal feel.
confidence. Yeah.
Anyone else? If not, the resolution approving the fire hall construction manager appointment appears on page 47. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Aaron Seaman.
Aye.
Councilmember Clayton.
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Councilmember Grant.
Aye.
Councilmember Paris.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carter.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, we have a fire hall project civil engineering services contract. And Chief? Otherwise, Jeff is here too.
Yeah, I see Jeff is here too. To go forward again with planning of a possible new fire hall, It's necessary to do certain engineering tasks that you see on the screen in front of you, such as surveys, utility design and plans, site plans, coordination with the county permitting, development of specifications, etc. And your city engineer, Bolton and Mink, has proposed to do that work for $40,500, not to exceed. So it's proposed that this would be funded through grants, donations, cash, and debt service. But again, would be necessary to go forward with the building of a fire hall if that eventuality comes to pass.
Okay, John?
I have a question. The $400 and some thousand dollars for R.W. Karlstrom will mostly be spent if the fire hall is actually built. How much of this is for, this $40,500 will be spent whether or not the fire hall gets built? Is it going to be done in anticipation of maybe building it?
Jeff's here.
I guess it depends how far you go with the fire hall project. If you choose not to move ahead with the fire hall project, depending on when you choose not to, there would be no cost. But if you do decide to move ahead, for instance, with design, that sort of thing, a survey topography would need to be completed because the architect and their designers would need that information in order to lay the fire hall out and the building out. But it all depends on how, if a decision made is to go ahead with the fire hall, because then there would be some incremental costs for this work as the fire hall design evolves.
Well, we're spending money on the architect in order to get plans so that we know what's going to look like, so that we could present this to the public to see whether in fact they want to go ahead with this. That means we're spending a little bit of money with R.W. Karlstrom because they will be advising the architect on things that might make it more cost-effective to build. And some of this you will have to do in order for us to get to a point where we have something to present to the public, I assume.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you for explaining more detail there. When it comes to that portion of it, a drawing that we'll need for the public, a design that we'll need for the public will include stormwater, which will be an important part of that. Public won't care much about water or sanitary sewer, that sort of thing. But when it comes to the site layout, landscaping, that sort of thing, how it'll look from above, there's going to be some costs involved with that. The permitting, the bidding administration, specifications, that sort of thing, that wouldn't be necessary if you decided not to go ahead. So I mean, early on, just ballpark figures, I'm thinking, just looking at the numbers, maybe, well, then some coordination with the county on the access, because there are controlled access points there with that right-of-way plat. So anyway, I mean, it should be in the neighborhood of maybe 20 grand.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Sure.
Susie?
Some of this preliminary work, like the surveying and so forth, I imagine that if we changed our minds about this project, decided not to build a fire station at this site, some of that same surveying information would be useful for future development going down the line. So if instead we decided to put a police station there or some other city facility, we would need some of that essentials work done. Oh, I know, getting everybody hopped up. But you know, if we were to do something different with that property, some of the work that you're doing here could be useful for future design plans as well. Is that true?
I could confidently say probably 95% of that
Right.
would be able to be used, because the only thing that's going to change would potentially be some storm water. But, you know, sanitary sewer, water main generally are going to stay the same for
Right.
service. Access, that sort of thing, the survey topography, like you mentioned, you are absolutely correct. Majority of it would be able to be used if you chose to move ahead with something different.
Great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Roger?
Does this cover Bolton and Mink's cost for fire hall completely, or will we end up seeing more of you in this process?
It all depends on how the architect sets the contract up. Most of the times what happens is architects, the way they set up the projects, the bidder, the low bidder, the contractor is responsible for staking and that sort of thing. So when it comes to, there'll be some construction administration, but there won't be construction staking, management, that sort of thing. There'll be some administration potentially, but, we're not talking a huge amount simply because most of it's going to be run through the architect.
Okay.
But there is, this considers design, preliminary design, and then getting the plans and the specs ready for bidding. And then once bids are received, like I said, staking and all that would be the responsibility of the contractor. They'll bid that, or they'll put that in their bid. But then any construction administration, maybe something comes up during construction that, there's a question on, that sort of thing. We're hoping then, it goes fairly smoothly, but there's always things that come up during construction, as much as we don't like to think there is.
But nothing else large?
No, it's maybe, a few thousand, 5,000 at the most.
Okay.
5,000 at the most.
Jeff, we understand you're part of the design team meetings going forward, I believe. Are you not?
Yes, they invited me, and on a as-needed basis, so
Okay.
yes, you are correct.
All right. Rod, or excuse me, Ed.
So, now, do you do some of this stuff right away, or do you wait and see a design of the building, or how big, or?
They'll need some of the, we've seen some concepts.
Okay.
And so we kind of have an idea. I got something in the back of my mind how things are going to lay. But right now, I think it's still up in the air, and maybe it's still up in the air as to the orientation. So depending on orientation and the way the parking lays out, there'll be some modifications that are necessary there.
Or stormwater and stuff like that?
Stormwater, right. I have an idea in my mind where what's gonna happen there, but there'll be some slight modifications depending on how the orientation is chosen, and ultimately how big the site is for parking and that sort of thing.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Anyone else? Not, the resolution authorizing engineering services for the fire hall project appears on page 51. Is there a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please, Brian.
Councilmember Fleming.
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Councilmember Grahams.
Aye.
Councilmember Paris.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carter.
Aye.
Mayor Zimmerman.
Aye. Resolution is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, sir.
Next up, we have a Good Samaritan Society lease renewal.
Mayor, members of the council, you'll see in your packet that the Good Samaritan lease expired in April, and it just going through really the Good Samaritan Society's bureaucracy, it has taken them a while to approve the lease on their end. And as you see, there is, as all the tenants in the community center have, a fee increase or a rent increase that is added in this contract. Also, they have been paying the increase since April. What this lease amount is for $19,013.52 for the first year of the lease at the community center, much like the other tenants in the building.
Okay. Questions? Do you know, I didn't catch it in here, how long have they been tenants? Does anybody know?
Since 2016.
First renewal, okay, I guess I didn't get that close enough. Any questions? Not, the resolution approving the execution of lease with the Evangelical Lutheran Good Samaritan Society for space in the community center appears on page 60. Is there a motion for approval?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Aye.
Councilmember Grahams.
Aye.
Councilmember Paris.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Carter.
Aye.
Mayor Zimmerman.
Aye.
Councilmember Tom.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Last item we have tonight is a temporary peddler license application. And Chief, if you want to, otherwise I will.
It's to comply with the city ordinance. This particular, we do background checks on people that go door to door, peddlers like this, which we have completed. And so if you approve this, Zip Zap Ice Cream will be coming to your neighborhood.
How do you say it?
One day only, on the 4th of July.
Maybe. One day only.
Questions?
Nobody here might know, but My understanding is that an ordinance for a peddler, they can sell like ice cream, a bicycle going up and down the street, sell their ice cream wares, but they're not allowed to go into the parks. What is the justification in the ordinance for that? I mean, nobody here knows.
I don't know. The gym knows. I would guess,
No,
because there's a separate fee if you are setting up a stand for that, not as a peddler, but as a merchant.
But no, on just a Sunday going into Gorman
Oh,
when
on
there's a
just a
church,
Sunday, you mean.
where there's church picnics and such. I don't know if somebody could send us some information as to why that is. Seems odd.
Yeah.
I can see the 4th of July where it's all organized and there are
Yeah.
strict strictures and such, but
Okay. I thought you were referring to the 4th, but otherwise in general. I'm
That
sure,
same thought came to me, Mr. Mayor, as long as they have a permit for that day. And I was wondering the same thing John was, how come that doesn't cover the whole city if the city issues a permit?
Yeah. We'll have to check into that. You make a note of that part. Todd can, if you would, please. Or I can. Or Jim can. Chief, you want to do that? Any other,
It'd be cheaper if I did it.
any other questions or comments on the resolution for the peddler license? If not, the approval for that license appears on page 62. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any more comments or questions? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Graham,
Aye.
Councilmember Bears,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Harlan,
Aye.
Mayor Zeno.
Aye.
Councilmember Holmes.
Aye.
Councilmember Harden.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. That concludes our new business. Next up, we have reports. And I think the one thing I was going to talk about, I see that Todd has listed for city administrator, so I'm going to turn it over to the chief.
Well, the only thing that I would have to say is remind people of the 4th of July and the parade, and that, of course, the city offices will be closed on the 4th of July, which is next Thursday. Library's closed, this building's closed. We certainly want everybody to come to Minnesota Square Park, look at a new pavilion that is under construction, and CSO. That's the best part. I can't really comment on the transit board meetings because I really wasn't briefed on that by Mr. Kraft.
There's two members, Susie and Steve, that are members on the transit board that meet with the city of Lesueur. That meets July 9th
Okay.
and meets here. This meeting is in this room. I'm not sure the starting time. 2:30. Okay? If either of you cannot make it, let me know, because I am the alternate. Anyone else have anything to add? I guess I did think of something. I think all of us got an email here a week or 10 days ago that Nancy Matson, who worked for the Herald, has left the area, is living in Sacramento, while her husband has been deployed, or going to be deployed shortly. So Nancy, wish we could have wished her well, but we'll do that now. And I usually don't like to bring up one individual, but I saw a headline in the Herald today that said, Andy Regner wins the Grand Slam. It's my neighbor kid. And he was baseball, the state team went to state, and he was all conference, all section, all state, all tournament team, all star, and all everything, it said. So he's a good kid, and wish him well at Mankato State playing baseball. Like I say, I don't like to bring up individuals, but
He is a good kid.
he is a good kid. Anyone else? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Thanks.